Martha Vasquez, partner and associate director in energy at Boston Consulting Group.
Your presentation was all about decommissioning markets today and into the future. Could you explain a bit more and elaborate for the audience here what the decommissioning market is like and what it will be like?
Yeah. So the decommissioning market is a global part of the oil and gas value chain, and it constitutes around 10 to 20% of the capex in any given basin, especially in the mature basins. Now today, globally, it is around a 7 billion market. Now the biggest segment is right now in the North Sea. I would say it's close to 50% of the spend globally, but we have emerging hotspots in at least 5 other places in the world: Australia, Gulf of Mexico with the boomerang liabilities, Asia, Africa, and South America with Brazil. And we believe that we are actually reasonably confident that it will increase between 15 to 30% in the next decade. It could become a 9 billion market by 2034.
Okay. And what do you think is driving the globalization of decommissioning out of the North Sea and into other regions?
I think the main driver, maybe there's a 3 or 5, but the main driver is the natural depletion of the oil and gas reservoirs and the aging of the facilities and wells out there. So the North Sea was one of the first basins to produce at scale, but the Gulf of Mexico has been actually the pioneer of decommissioning for many years. Then North Sea came, and right now we just have aging wells and facilities everywhere, where the resources development traveled onwards. That is one. Second is there is increasing focus from policymakers and regulators on making sure that we have a prudent and responsible closure to the oil and gas developments and all the producing facilities that served us for so many years. And possibly third is also part of the energy transition. Some of these fastly depleting facilities and wells are also some of the most carbon intensive out there. So accelerating the decommissioning of all that and replacing it with, ideally, lower carbon sources of energy or lower carbon intensive developments is a good thing.
Okay. So looking at the sector, where do you think the opportunities are for subsea support vessels?
That is a really good question, and I think if I have to think about 3 different opportunities, the first one that we mentioned today is to capture a larger share of the spend within the areas that are natural for the subsea vessel. It could be a bigger share of engineering, bigger share of project management and all the removal projects. That's one of them. Another one is to be the enabler for a more cost-efficient plugging and abandonment of the wells. This activity alone represents almost 50% of the decommissioning spend. And there is a big opportunity for the subsea vessel companies to actually enable oil and gas companies and the rest of the ecosystem to do that. And possibly third, and this is what I have learned today, I can see that there are some subsea vessel companies who are innovating, actually subsea more broadly, and I think there is opportunity to truly influence how we actually do decom, especially in some of the regions where we're just starting.
Okay. Yeah. And finally, what do you get from being at this conference? What are your key takeaways and experiences?
Well, thank you. I think if there are 3 takeaways, one of them is that we seem to consistently have been under-investing for the last 4 years. So we don't have all the new builds that we would like. That is one area to be aware of, and let's see how we're going to fix it in the coming years. Second, as I mentioned, technology innovation. I'm actually quite impressed about it. There is at least a couple of companies who say, hey, I have something that has not been in the market before, the unmanned subsea vessel and everything that it conveys. I think the technology angle is quite new, and I learned it at this conference. Yeah. And the third thing, I think there is a desire and some examples of collaboration between subsea vessel companies, and I think, was it Reach? Yeah, they mentioned they are collaborating with Kongsberg, and I would like to see more of that, and I'm happy to learn at this conference that is happening in this segment of the value chain.